All right. So today we're going to be going over demo 6, which talks about networking, data, and persistent storage. So let's go into announcements first. So some announcements. Homework 6 will be released soon. I believe after class. Homework grades for 2 through 4 are released as of this afternoon. And the hack challenge is going to start pretty soon. So we should start thinking about that, ideas that you might want to implement. Yeah, because during the meet and greet, you'll be like talking with other students about your ideas and seeing who you vibe with. So yeah. Okay, so now first let's talk about data. Um, so data is used to just like store all the information that we want in our program, our project. And so usually data is stored in what we call singletons. So singletons are a data structure paradigm where a single class is instantiated once. And this makes it very efficient because we only instantiate it once, we don't have to keep track of multiple copies. And we also don't have synchronization issues because everything always points to a common source of truth, right? So singletons holds the data across the app in one place. However, apparently in complex apps it's frowned upon, but for our course and for our apps, which are pretty small, we use singletons quite a bit. Yeah, and we'll be getting more into this in the demo. Okay, so this is how we create our singleton. We have a private constructor because we don't want people creating more instances of this other than the one that we create. We have a globally accessible object reference. That's the point of singletons, is that everyone can reference the same singleton, which is good, right? And then we have consistency across multiple threads. So this is what I said about synchronization before. We have one common source of truth, right? Everything is looking at one place. So this allows us to maintain a consistent like view of our data throughout all of the different threads that could be running on this at one time. Yeah, even though there are like other measures that you probably need to take into account, but yes, this is something that helps with consistency. Okay, so any questions about data? Okay, so now let's talk about persistent storage. So we're going to be using persistent storage with something called SharedPreferences. It's a library framework that saves persistent data in key value pairs, kind of like bundles or extras in an intent. It can store user state like settings, favorites, etc., without requiring storage permissions, and it works for any primitive data type. Another thing that we should note is that we can use several different shared preferences, and we can like create several different copies if we have like different users or if we want to store different things in different places, which doesn't happen as often, but still a possibility. So yeah, this just like saves it between like activity life cycles and stuff. So yeah. Okay. And the syntax is you initialize the shared preference by saying val shared preference equals get shared preference name, and then context dot mode private. And context mode private means that only your app can access the data, which is generally what you want, because giving out more information than necessary is generally a bad thing, because it just means that the people who interact with your code will have more to worry about. Yeah, and preference name should be unique because that's the identifier. So yes. So continuing with the syntax, the way that we edit it is we create val editor equals shared preference dot edit, and then we put in key value pairs. For example, here we're putting in an integer with the key and the value 10. And then at the end, something really important is that we have to commit, and this just pushes our thing to the shared preference. If you don't do this, then it won't save. It's kind of like GitHub, or if you're familiar with backend, you also have to do this with like database tables. Yeah. And then the syntax to get an integer is you do get int with the key, and then here you can provide a default value. Otherwise, it'll just return null. Any questions? Okay, so third and lastly, we're going to talk about networking a bit. So key terms to know. The client is the mobile application and it makes the queries to some URL, some database, some server, right? So for example, our app would be our client. You can imagine kind of like the user as the client and the user is making these calls to like get a list of the eateries or get opening times for the eateries, etc. The server is a computer, either a local one sometimes, but most oftenly a virtual or remote one. It listens to the request on the URL and it responds appropriately. And this is the job of the backend, to listen to requests and respond. And the backend also provides what we call an API. So this API is a contract of what we should expect from the server input and output wise. So most of the times the output is a JSON file. Yeah. So what is a JSON file? A JSON file, it stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It's generally the file received from networking requests, and it gives you key value pairs where the keys are strings and the values are valid JSON data types. And this includes like dictionaries and lists, etc. So we can see a bunch of like nested JSONs. And now we're going to talk about third-party API that you're going to need for homework 6. So first we're going to talk about OKHTTP. So OKHTTP makes it extremely easy to make HTTP requests to any backend API of yours. And it's much more natural and intuitive than native support for HTTP requests. So it's really nice and we prefer to use it. And it also allows us to pull data in the form of JSON objects from backend. So backend has whatever they store in tables or however they represent their thing. I know GraphQL does it differently. And then when we pull it with HTTP, then we get JSON objects. But we're not done, right? Because we don't know how to operate with JSON objects yet. So that's the next third-party API. So this third-party API is called Moshi. It's also known as Moshi JSON adapter. And basically what it does is it allows for interpretation of JSON objects to Kotlin objects. So developers would design their own data classes, and then Moshi interprets the JSON into objects of that class. So basically it casts the JSON as that class by using matching tags. You can look at the textbook for the dependencies that need to be added for third-party APIs, such as OKHTTP and Moshi. Any questions about third-party APIs? Okay, great. Okay, so yeah, that's the end of the recap of lecture, and now we're gonna go into demo. So for demo, we want to create this screen, and there's a little bit going on. So basically what we want is, we want to create like a list of tasks that we need to do using shared preferences. And then when we press this button, I'll show you it. Let me pull up Android Studios. Let's see. Okay. So give it a sec, the Gradle build is run, but yes. Yeah. So this is actually a task that I put in earlier called laundry, washer, and dryer. And then we can say, so this is the other page. It has new reminder with a title and a description. When we pull up the title, I can say like, demo 6. And then the description should be networking and data. And then we can press make reminder at the bottom. And we can see that it's here, right? Demo 6, networking and data. And the cool thing is we can stop the app and then we can rerun it. And in fact, demo 6 with networking and data is still here. So that's the thing with shared preferences, is that we can create persistent storage, right? So even if we close and reopen the app, it'll still remain there, which is really useful. So yeah, this is the completed code. You can find this in the textbook. Wait, let me find where the textbook is. Here, this one. In the textbook under Android course, right? If we go to lecture and homework 6, so pull up this screen, this website, and wait. Okay, yes. So that would be discussion 6 demo.zip. But the one that I want you guys to do right now is download discussion 6 demo blank.zip. So this is the blank copy that I provided, and then we're gonna go through the steps to go from the blank version to the filled out version, one by one. Yeah. So I'll give you guys some time to open that up. Let me get a drink of water. Let me know when you guys have it. Okay, great. So as you can see, we have 5 different files in here. Main activity, obviously. The next one that we're gonna go to is reminder. So reminder.kt is just a data class file, and this one has the title and the content, which is all that we're storing for each reminder, right? And then let's go to reminders repository. So this is what I was talking about with the repository file, the Singleton. And the way that we instantiate this is saying object reminders repository, and then we create the attributes of it, my list, which other things are going to have to access in order to like generate the list of tasks, and then num new posts, which calculates like the length of the list. And then we have two functions for our repository. So one of them is an add reminder, and the other one is initialize reminders. So initialize reminders, we're going to want to call at the start of creating our main activity. And then the next one I want to go to is, well, if we go back to main activity, we can see that we have a recycler view with an adapter. And the adapter that we want to use is reminders adapter, which is here. But for this file, you don't have to change anything because we've already gone over recycler views. So I don't want to make you guys do that again. It's pretty basic. You have a val view inflate for your onCreate view holder. You're setting the title text and the description text in the onBind view holder. And then you're doing dataset.size for get item count. And then if we go here, we can see that our three XML files are for activity main, which is our main activity, activity new reminder, which is the second page that you saw after we press the button, and then reminder cell, which is just one cell, right? And it has the title and the description, and it's like shaded, which is nice. And then the last thing is new reminder activity. And then in here, we want to create an intent. So I've written notes already. You want to create an intent and put extras for the title and description and then launch. And then here it's a little bit funky. We don't want to use start activity at the end. We want to use finish. And the reason why is because we're only coming from main activity. So when we press finish, we'll just go back. And so we don't like need to specify the target. And we also want to set the result code so that our main activity can check it. As you can see, it does here if result.result code equals 0. Okay. So let's get into this. The first thing that we want to do is probably go into reminders repository and come here. And so we want to do here to do use SharedPrefs to update num new posts. What we want to do is instead we want to do SharedPrefs dot get int and then we want to create a tag here. So probably num new posts. And then the default is 0. Okay. And then here, your code here should be for I believe the syntax is give me a sec. Yes, for I in 0 until num new posts. And this is just like your standard for loop, but in Kotlin. And then here, what we want to do is okay. So first we want to get the title and the description. So we want to say val title equals shared prefs dot get string. And then the string that should be here is message $I, which just like replaces it with I, whichever number I is, right? And then title. And here it should be this I title and then fail. So this is just like if there isn't anything with this title, then we'll output fail, right? And then we'll know that we'll have failed. And then we can do the same thing for description equals shared prefs dot get string message $I description comma fail. Then what we want to do is create a reminder with this. So val reminder equals reminder title description. Probably want to specify title equals title, description equals description. I think it might be, let's see. So if we go over here, sorry, it's content. So let's change this to content, I guess. Content equals content. And then here, just in case it's not a string, right? It could be nullable. That's the type of content and val. It's string question mark. So we want to say title question mark colon fail, which is the Elvis operator. It says if this is null, then we just do fail, which is just like a failsafe, right? Hopefully this isn't happening, but it's good to know. And then the last thing that we want to do is mylist.add reminder. And we can see that this is the same thing as what we have here. Something else that you could do is instead of putting it here, you could take it out and put it here. And it just makes the inside of the code look prettier. Okay. Any questions up until this point? So now we've created our initialize reminders. And now the next part is to go back to the main activity. And now we want to initialize our reminders repository using shared preferences. So the way that we do this is reminder repository dot init reminders. And here we want to pass in shared prefs, which is something that we defined above, right? Where we have a shared prefs key and then we have mode is private. Okay. And then the next thing that we want to do is let's create an intent to launch the button using find view by ID so that we can launch into the new reminder activity for like the bottom plus button. So the first thing that we want to do is val button equals find view by ID r.id dot, and we should probably specify the subtype button because otherwise it'll complain. And import button. And we want to, I believe it's called add button. So we can go into activity main and check. And let's go into the code and it's called add button. So this is what we want to find. Okay. Now that we have this button, we want to do button dot set on click listener. And this is pretty basic. This is just what we've had so far. And then for this part, what we want to do is we want to create an intent and just launch it because we don't need any other things. So intent this, and then new reminder activity class.java. And then start activity intent. Or we can do, I don't know why they do this, but intent to launcher dot launch intent, I believe also works. So now let's test to see that this works. And we don't expect too much. It's just that we want to be able to move to the next screen now. So give it a sec, wait till it is running. Let me stop this one so that we can use this one. Huh, that's weird. Let's see. That is really weird. I'm not exactly sure why it's doing that. Hmm. Yeah, I don't know why. It's not giving me any errors either. Let's see. Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, class cast exception. Unable to perform this. So let's see. Why is this happening? It's interesting. New reminder activity, : class.java. Huh. Let's see. Okay. I think we might have to go into our manifest and change something. Let's see. Exported is here. And then let's see what our manifest looks like here. So seems to be the same, which is kind of confusing. Let's see. That is really weird. Let's continue working and then hopefully it resolves itself. If not, we will try to fix that later. So let's see. What do we want to do next? So we've done this. I'll leave the to do because it's a little bit buggy, but yes. So now let's go into our new reminders activity. And here, what we want to do is we've already had our find view by ID for the button, the edit title, and the edit description. And then what we want to do is val intent equals intent. And then here, what we want to do is if we go to new reminder activity, just the classic intent dot put extra. And here we'll say new title. And we'll say edit title dot text dot toString, I believe. And then we want to do intent dot put extra new description, edit title dot edit description dot text dot toString. Yeah. And then the last thing that we want to do is set result. As I said before, we want to set the result of our thing. So here we want to do 0 and then the intent, and then we can say finish. And yeah, that should just work perfectly fine. Any questions here? Good. Good. Okay, great. Yeah, so now let's go into our reminder repository again. And here we want to do the other one. So the other one is add reminder, and we get passed in a reminder, an adapter, shared preferences. So first we want to add this to my list and update the adapter. And so basically what we want to do here is my list dot add reminder, and then adapter dot notify item changed, and the item changed here would be num new posts, right? Does that make sense? It's the one currently at num new posts. Okay. And then the next thing that we want to do is num new post plus plus, because we just added a new thing to the adapter. Let me see. Okay. And then here we want to update num new posts and shared preferences. So num new post plus plus, and then shared prefs dot edit dot put string message. And then here we want to do num new post -1 title reminder dot title. And here it might give you some yellow highlighting, and basically what you want to do there is just sorry, give me a sec. Basically what you want to do there is just wait, why is it like this? Oh, okay. Yeah. So dot put string. So we want to put in, and we can like chain them here like this. So here it's just a num new post -1, and then description, and then reminder dot this content, and then dot commit. And sometimes it'll give you like these red dots or maybe yellow highlighting. And that just means that the thing that you're doing could be nullable. And so we want to put a question mark there. And here it's telling me to use dot apply instead of dot commit. I think they do pretty similar things. I think it might just be safer with like nullable objects. So yes, but this should be all that we need to do for this, I believe. I also believe that we want to do, sorry, there's one more thing. Here we want to say dot put int, and then dot. And here what we want to do is put in num new posts, and then num new posts. So we also want to update num new posts to our shared preferences. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, this should be good enough for here. And now let's go back to the main activity when you guys are ready. I can zoom in. Good. Okay, great. Just double checking. Yeah, great. Okay. And then let's go back to main activity. And so the last thing that we want to do is receive the intent that we're launching in new reminder activity, right? Where we have new title and new description. And so the way that we do this is val title or val new title equals result.data.get extras dot get new title. Get string new title. And here we want to wrap it with or like put in the Elvis operator just to make sure that it's safe. Oh, I guess we don't necessarily need it. Yeah, I guess we don't want to do this necessarily because sometimes we just won't have the intent, or it might be a different intent. And so we just don't specify that it's a string, and then it should be fine. It should be a nullable string. And then val new description equals result dot data dot extras dot get string. And then here new description should be our key. And then here's where we check if we actually have a new reminder or not. So we say if new title not null, and new description is not null, then what we want to do is reminders repository dot add reminder title equals new title content equals new description. Okay. Does that make sense? And here we don't even need reminders repository. It knows to add reminders from reminders repository. But yes. Yeah. And add reminder should take in an adapter and also shared preferences as well. So this will want to put in adapter and shared prefs. And yeah, then it'll update the adapter and the shared preferences as well, not only just adding it to the list. Any questions up until this point? Huh. This is really weird. I don't know why we're running into this problem. Do you guys also have this issue? Oh, this is floating action button. I think I've seen this before. I think I just need this import. Um, okay, let's see. Um, let's uninstall the app and then run it again. Hopefully. Class cast exception. Floating action button cannot be cast to a widget button. Oh, so maybe like this. Okay. Yeah, so I think I just cast it incorrectly. It was a floating action button, not just a normal button. Um, and now if we press it, then we come here. Let's say finish demo 6. And then the description is yay. And then make reminder. And it works. Does it work for you guys as well? Yeah. Are you having any issues with it? Okay, okay. Yeah, let me know how that goes. Um, if it's all good, then yeah, great. Then that should be it for today's demo. And if you guys have any questions, you guys are free to stay. Otherwise, I think we can end 5 minutes early. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah. And we'll be holding office hours. So always open. Yes. I think starting from next week, we're gonna have bonus lectures. Um, I know last semester what they did was let me stop recording.